You're listening to the Moody Mommies podcast.
Audio warning. You may or may not hear kids screaming and yelling in the background, or us screaming or yelling at them to keep it together.
Mommy's here. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Jessica.
And I know we always say this. We have an extra special guest, but this one is like super duper special.
Because she's blood related to us.
Yeah, that's why. She gets extra brownie points. So what are we going to talk about today, Jess?
Today we are going to talk about allergies. So you kind of had a scare with Luna and allergies.
Yeah, I just recently went through a little allergic problem with Luna. So that's why we wanted to do this topic while it's hot and fresh. I still kind of don't really know what the cause of her allergen was. So last month we went on a trip to Arizona and I put some sunblock on her because we're going to go to a water park. And she was fine, reapplied throughout the day. And the next day when we got home, she was like scratching her back, like inside of her shirt, just scratching at her back. And I was like, kind of noticed it throughout the day. And later when we got home after dinner, I was like, let me see what it is. So I took her shirt off and she had just like hives all over her back. And it was just everywhere. It started going down the back of her legs, her butt, everywhere. And I was like, what the heck? So it was Father's Day, and I'm like, sorry, Joey, you got to go to the store and, buy some hydrocortisone cream and whatnot. So we did that. We took her to the doctor the next day. And I really couldn't think of what it was. Like, we hadn't done anything new. Like, of course, I've put sunblock on her before. And we had took her to have ice cream at this place called Creamistry. And I've kind of been trying to do like no dairy with my kids. So I bought them ice cream and I did like a cashew-based ice cream. So other than the sunblock and that ice cream, that was really the only two new things that I had done with her. So I was like, okay, I have a feeling it's the ice cream, but my gut feeling was she's eaten cashews before. So I really didn't think that was the cause of it.
Yeah.
So my gut was just like, I felt like it was the sunblock for sure. Like I was just like, I feel like it's the sunblock. That's the only thing that she hasn't had on her body in a long time. It's barely just started summer. So I took her to the doctor and they basically were just like gave her Benadryl, told her to take it for a couple of days and see if it will go away. We did it for the 2 days that they prescribed it for her and it didn't go away. It was kind of like it would clear up a little bit, but every morning like it was just really bad all over her butt, all over the back of her legs. And I was like, dude, I've never dealt with anything like this before. So I hated it. I couldn't stand, and my like phobia of life is bumps. Like I can't see like clusters of things together. Like even if it's like a bunch of ants, like it freaks me out. Like I can't do it.
Same.
But it's weird because I'm like that. Like if I were to see bumps on anybody else but this is my child. So I didn't feel that way, So I was like, okay, applying, the hydrocortisone, everything. And I just felt like nothing was really working for her. So it kind of pretty much cleared up. And she came and had a sleepover with Justine. And while she was here, Jessica was like, hey, did she have these bumps on her? And I knew she had like a few that were like still pretty much clearing up. But I was like, well, let me see them. So she sent me some pictures and I noticed in one of the pictures she had one like on her cheek. And I was like, no, I think they're coming back. Like, I think they're for sure coming back. So I picked her up. We got in the car, and we were getting Starbucks right down the street. And I called the doctor, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I did the Benadryl for a couple of days, like, the doctor said, and it's not going away. He's like, okay, I want you to try Zyrtec. Try Zyrtec for a couple of days, and if it doesn't go away, then make her an appointment tomorrow. So I said, okay. So we were right across the street from Target, so we just got out of the drive-thru, ran in there, bought the Zyrtec, gave it to her, and the next morning she was pretty much all cleared up, like it was gone. So I was like, wow, like this stuff really worked for her. I gave it to her the next day, and she woke up and they were on her butt again. They just started appearing again. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what the heck? So we took her back to the doctor, and the doctor basically just said, just try to make a list of the new things that you guys have given her within the 24 hours that you first noticed the breakout. And she didn't eat anything new. So I'm like, can't really make a list of anything because there's nothing new. She said, we're going to keep her on the Zyrtec for 10 days, see if they come back. And if they do come back within the 10 days, then we're going to send her for the allergen test. But I still want you to keep her, whether they come back or not, keep her on the Zyrtec for 30 days.
Right.
So that's where I'm at right now. I'm still within that 30 days. Haven't hit the 30 days yet. So I know this is something a lot of moms go through, and it's really, really scary because there's kids that are allergic to eggs, milk, everything under the sun. So it really just made me feel really thankful that this was like the first time that I was dealing with something like this. But I still really wanted to know what the cause of it was to begin with.
Right.
So I could just keep it out of her life. I was just like, is it the laundry detergent? But I hadn't changed. Everything that I had been using in our lives was nothing new. So,
well, you said you went to Arizona, so it could have been something environmental
maybe
that caused it, because it's not always a food allergy. It could be something environmental. It could be anything really, and that's why your best course of action is to push for a panel.
Yeah.
To get the allergy panel.
Yeah, because I'm like, I still want to know if has any allergies to anything. Like, I want the answers so I just can stay clear of them, because I know you could be allergic to grass, to dirt, anything under the sun.
Yeah, and that was the only thing that when the kids were over here, they were outside on the grass the entire time, because we were all playing outside, and I used like hypoallergenic soap on her when I washed her, and I didn't feed her anything other than like pizza, which is something that she normally has all the time. So I was like, something got her.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't even introduce her.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
So our cousin Olivia is joining us, and she has had a roller coaster journey with allergies with her son, and that's why we wanted to talk to her about her experience.
I'm no expert by any means. I'm just an ordinary mom, and this is my interpretation of my experience, pretty much, and no more. But I would have said that it sounds like it was something environmental, because if it wasn't a new sunblock, and the only other factor, the only variable was Arizona, then that could have kind of kickstarted the allergy to begin with. And that's why when she came to your house, and let's just say she was playing in the grass and she was already exposed to something, in Arizona, and that started the allergy going, and it was she's still fighting it in her system, then it's very possible that's
why the doctor told me like to keep her on the Zyrtec, because it might still be in her intestines inside her body. Yep. and just see if the Zyrtec was the thing that helped her the most. Like the Benadryl, I was like, dude, it's not doing anything for her.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes, if it clears up. I mean, it hasn't came back for quite some time now. So I'm really hopeful that in 30 days it's just done, because I don't want to have to give my kid allergy medicine every single day of her life. Like, it's just not something I want to do.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I had that battle, but what gave me peace of mind is when he was hospitalized, because my son was hospitalized. So his allergies, I mean, it reduces their quality of life, you
Right.
know, and one cycle of prednisone is equivalent to a year's worth of preventative medication, is how it was explained to us in the hospital. So you kind of have to.
what is that?
The preventative medication?
Yes.
So preventative medication can be like Zyrtec, for instance, Claritin. So his inhalers, so something like Qvar, Symbicort. Those are all preventative measures that one can take on a daily basis to prevent from having to deal with, you know, having an extreme reaction and then having to be hospitalized, having to go through a steroid cycle.
The
The prednisone is a steroid.
Okay.
It's a pretty extreme course of action, but you have to take it, especially if one has asthma, which my son does have as well. So, it sucks all the way around because you have to make that choice, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take this back a little bit. When was your first allergy reaction with your son?
Ooh, okay. We started noticing little rashes, like when I was still nursing him. When we took him to his pediatrician, she noticed it as well. And then suggested, this was right around when I believe I was like weaning him off. And she had suggested that I stop eating soy, I stop eating peanuts, I stop eating eggs.
How many months was he at this time?
I believe it's probably like 3.5 months. At that point, okay, I had stopped eating those things and we didn't see any difference. And when he was on the it would make sense though, because we would realize later that he was also allergic to dairy. So he was allergic to dairy, he was allergic to almonds, he was allergic to just many different things. And then all the environmental things too. I mean, that's also causing the eczema flare-ups. But anyway, so back to him getting the eczema flare-ups started, and then I was recommended to stop eating certain food items, and then I stopped, didn't see any difference. And then when we were making the transition to formula, we then noticed, you know, he was still getting the flare-ups even more so, which would make sense because it's, you know, manufactured
dairy
from
supplement.
right, exactly, cow's milk. And so then he was, we were giving him something called Nutramigen. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Ooh, isn't that really expensive? It's a formula, right?
It is. I think it was like $40 for like a little.
Yeah.
So we had to do that. And then we still noticed he was getting eczema flare-ups. And so it just felt like, you know, we weren't
Seeing any results,
right,
any resolutions.
right. And then the Nutramigen too, it's not very tasty for them. So, you know, he's kind of getting the short end of the stick. So, and then, you know, no positive results. So it wasn't until I think he was 5 months that he put his hand in my plate of egg yolk, and then his hand started to swell up. His hand started to swell up, and then hives just
No way.
all over his arm. After that, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And this is just him touching it, not even, you know,
Ingesting
consuming
it,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, like, so we took him to the doctors and realized that he was hypersensitive to egg. And then he had a panel done.
This is at how old now?
He was 5 months. And I'm trying to recall and recollect exactly when he had that panel done, because he's had several, to just maintain and keep up and be updated with where his allergies are at.
Because they change as they age, right?
They change, and also with exposure. So you don't want to every situation is unique, but with my son, we have exposed him to like processed versions of the food, so not to keep him like away from the egg completely, so that if he does come in contact with it, because it is such a common ingredient, and yeah, so that he doesn't have we worry about anaphylaxis. It's something that we always worry about, especially being in school. So we've exposed him to it, and so we've realized now, I mean, fast forward, he has a lower number now with his egg allergy and a higher number with his almond.
So he's less
allergic
to eggs now.
We're going to we're checking. We just went to his allergist recently, and we're supposed to do another panel to double check that.
Can you tell us what does it they exactly do in the panel?
So they can do blood work. They can do, I believe, 2 different tests with blood work. There's some medical terminology on that. I'm not too sure what they're called, but there's one that's more common over the other. And then there's also a prick test, where it's called like scratching tests.
Yeah, where they like poke them with like all these little things and see if their skin reacts.
Right, and so they expose them to like, I don't know, 20 different allergens and see what they react to.
Right.
And that's pretty much it for the testing. We do the blood work. It's very conflicting because we get different ideas from different doctors that say one's more accurate over the other. But so far, there's more that say the blood work is more accurate, because there's so many different variables that go with the prick test, depending on how deep somebody scratches, or just all these different like variables that come into play.
Yeah, and I've heard like your blood can pretty much tell you everything that's going on in your body, so they're probably
right.
Probably right.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's worked for us, so we're sticking with it. Yeah, that's where we're at with the blood work.
So eggs was like the number one thing, and then when did you find out that he was allergic to the almonds?
As soon as we got so this was like the 3rd time he was hospitalized for asthma.
So when was for asthma?
Because it started with asthma, what is what really got us into the preventative medication, because we were in the hospital. It was like the 3rd time in 1 year, and it wasn't until I like poked and prodded like the doctors, because there's things that you don't know to ask, and if you don't ask, sometimes they're not going to tell you. And I just kept asking, and it wasn't until I came across like maybe the 3rd doctor of our stay there that he like sat me down and brought in a whole team and said, how important it is to know about allergies, that are affecting his asthma, that are triggering their asthma, that are then that are making him more susceptible, I should say, to more illnesses. Because what happens is when they get sinus infections, then that can turn into something else. And so that's kind of how that went. And then when I had the team talk to us, they told us about the preventative medications that we can take rather than the rescue medications, because we were just depending on the rescue medications like albuterol. Albuterol is an inhaler, and that's purely for rescue. Like when a child is already wheezing and coughing, then you use the albuterol. But the other medication prevents them from even having to use it.
That.
Right. I mean, there'll be times where the child still gets sick that you'll need to use the albuterol. But for the most part, he hasn't been hospitalized since we've been doing the preventative and seeing the allergist and the pulmonologist, I'm sorry. He's been fine.
I know that you had asthma as well growing up,
yes.
Right? Do you remember how old you were when your mom realized you had asthma?
It's as early as I can remember. I don't really remember there being like a specific test to diagnose me. I just remember being ill a lot and then having the rescue inhaler. Like we were never...
You didn't have a preventative. You just did rescue.
Never had a preventative.
Were you ever hospitalized for it or just...
Yeah. For asthma, yeah. And no one ever talked to us about it. And at least, from my memory. I mean, I don't really know because Obviously, they would be talking to my mom, and I was a child, so I really don't know how those conversations went. But I know that I never had a preventative. I always depended on my albuterol. Really didn't want to I really, really weighed out everything. I didn't want Bodhi on all the medications. I didn't. But then after the third time and they gave him the prednisone for the third time, I mean, these have long-term effects. Long-term effects. And I mean, max they want to do is twice a year is pushing it. 3 times is pump your brakes. You really don't want to have all of those cycles of steroids, especially in a small child. Once I thought about it, realized what's really going on, we accepted it and we gave him the medication, tried it out, and then he's been so good. He's been so good. And even when he does, if he does catch a common cold, it's not a problem. Before, that would put him in the hospital.
So what other things is he allergic to besides eggs and almonds?
Olive trees, cats, dogs, and we have 2. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. But what's an interesting thing is that with the preventative medication, the dogs, it could have been, the dogs who, were a part of triggering him, but he never really reacted to them. It was never really a problem, but it could have very well been. But now that he's on the preventative, I mean, nothing's really affecting him.
No reactions.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you guys had to pretty much change everything in your home with the allergy stuff?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yes. So, carpet gone.
What?
Yeah. Remove the carpet.
But it wasn't that easy because you guys are staying in an
apartment. Yeah. So, you have rights, and if you get a doctor's note, you can have them change out the carpet, put in hardwood. Well, you don't really want to do hardwood floors either because that can also hold
a lot of dust.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So what we have are these little snap-in kind of. They look like hardwood floors, but they're not. I don't want to call them linoleum because they're not. But I don't know what they're made out of. I'm gonna be honest. They're from the Mohawk brand, but they're really good. I mean, they're waterproof, not water resistant. So they're very easy.
Water resistant, not waterproof.
No, waterproof.
They are waterproof?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right, because water resistant is meaning they just resist water. Waterproof is
when they don't get damaged at all.
At all, okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, you can, the water can sit on top of it, nothing will penetrate it. Yeah, as long as they install it properly. If they don't install it properly, then that's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did you have a hard time getting your apartment to switch everything over?
You live in a HOA, or is that why you had to
No, no, it wasn't hard. Once we got the doctor's note, we had to do some coordinating, and it was fairly simple. I mean, I'm pretty sure that not everyone will have that easy of a time, with their landlord or whatever, but we did. We had a pretty easy time doing it. It took a bit.
And did you notice that it helped you guys?
At first, no. I got pneumonia 3 times right after. It was back to back to back. But because the ceilings and everything are so high in our place, we made the huge mistake of not having a thorough cleaning and having the walls vacuumed and you have to have a really, really thorough cleaning because the dust and the particles that stay from the carpet removal is intense. And so I had got sick. I've never been so sick for so long, but
what happens to your body when you have pneumonia?
Well, it stays in your chest, so you get phlegm in your chest,
in your lungs,
and in your lungs, yeah. And so it makes it incredibly hard to breathe. And so that was, it was
And once
pretty
you
scary.
get it one time, you're more susceptible to get it again and again. Yeah, Joey got it one time, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, great.
Yep. And because it just, the, you know, the problem was that I kept getting exposed to, I'm really highly allergic to dust and like dust mites. That's my, like between moderate to severe.
So
And
is
so-
Bodie allergic to dust as well?
He's allergic to dust too.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But not as, his wasn't as high as mine. And so for me to continuously be exposed to it, I was fighting it off, and it was just killing my immune system.
Taking you down over and over again.
Yep. And so it's.
So did you have to have somebody come in and clean the house out really good?
Yes, we did.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
we
what an
did.
adventure.
It took 3 months for us to figure out, because I thought everything was clean, because we did have a cleaning crew come in, but it wasn't sufficient enough. Like it just, we didn't think about the walls. We didn't think about everything else. You know.
Your loft is like super high walls
Yes,
too.
yes. And so I started realizing when I was dusting that it was not your typical dust. It was like sand. It was like this sandy kind of substance. And I was like, okay, I just dusted this. Where is this coming from? And so then I realized, I was like, okay, but it took me a long time to like actually sit there and like
Figure it out.
figure it out. Yeah. And like be this little investigator and
Detective mama.
yeah. And once I did, though, it was all good. It was like night and day.
That's great.
So then I know that the other day when you came over, you asked if we had Claritin. So he's still on just like regular.
Yes.
So what do you give him every day?
So every day we give him 2.5 ml of Claritin. We sometimes switch off to Zyrtec, but right now it's Claritin. And then we do Symbicort, which is an inhaler. We used to do Flonase, but I took him off of Flonase. And then we used to do Singular at night, but we don't do Singular either anymore. And he seems to be doing okay.
Is there a reason you stopped the other two?
I thought the Flonase was causing like bloody noses. He tends to get like a bloody nose here and there. And since it softens the tissue inside the nose, I was immediately associating it with that. His allergist said it'd be okay to stop it for a little bit, see if it clears up. And we stopped it for a while now, and it still hasn't changed. So
He still gets the bloody noses.
yeah, but when I was a child, I did too. And I never did any Flonase. So I don't know if it's just a genetic thing. Not sure.
So allergies are, of course, hereditary, right? And that's where he gets them from you, or?
I believe that they are. I mean, I don't want to be quoted on that, but I'm going to assume we are our genetics, and so
Right.
I'm pretty sure that they are.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident in allergies being genetic. His late uncle was allergic, had a high allergy to egg, and he does too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Google says it's like
Google says yes to the hereditariness, guys.
Yeah. Yes.
So, the times that he was hospitalized, were they from like an allergic reaction of something he ate, or was it all from his?
So it could have been right. So at that time, we still had carpet. So because we still had carpet, that was triggering his allergies a lot. And so we noticed a big decline once the carpet was removed. But around that time, we still had the carpet. That's when he was hospitalized. I'm thinking that maybe it was an allergy to the carpet or something in the carpet, something that was, I don't know, just sticking to the fibers. And perhaps that tripped, it
Triggered
like
the asthma.
Yeah, and triggered the asthma. And then the asthma, of course, just kind of got exacerbated. It just closed up his bronchial tubes. And
So did you guys have to like call 911 for him? Was it like?
no, we monitored his breathing, but once his breathing got so shallow, we were like, okay, time to go to the ER, because it wasn't getting better. We put on, they always tell us to put on the humidifier. Humidifier wasn't working. His rescue inhaler wasn't working. His nebulizer wasn't working. And so we're like, okay, this is an emergency situation. And we took him in, and then his oxygen level was at 85%. And we're like, all right. And they admitted him. And then he ended up staying for 3 days, I think, at the time.
Wow.
And it's scary that it's like allergies can cause all of these things, and
Right.
just not being, aware of it.
Yeah, and when you're a mom, these are things that you're not even thinking about, like the challenges of being a mom. So you're not really like prepared for them when they do happen.
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, thank goodness that it didn't happen, but I just think, like, I mean, if he didn't touch that egg, if it was something else, like he has an EpiPen now, so he needs epinephrine if he ever like consumes the egg and it's like organic form, or he may cause anaphylactic. And so I'm just thanking my lucky stars that he touched it when he did, and that we found out early on that he had like a hyperallergy to it.
Right. Because he was 5 months when that happened, so he wasn't even eating solid foods yet.
Right. So I could imagine if it happened later, and what happens if he was, sharing food with someone at school, or I don't know, just, sometimes that happens, or with another child and he had no idea. I don't know.
Or even you, just making
me.
him breakfast,
Yeah,
when he's ready
me.
to eat. And
Yep. I mean, anything like that can happen. But I mean, I try to warn him about those things. He knows he's allergic now. He knows.
that's good.
But I am still very wary of it.
So how do you feel about, like, is he in school right now? Or
Yes.
He is. So his teachers, and how do you go about preparing everyone to make sure like they're taking the right measures to keep him away from everything he is allergic to?
Well, I've gone in a few times to talk to the nurse. I have his little bag. Like, I have a little emergency pack for him, and we have good communication with the nurse first and foremost, and good communication with his teacher, because she's the one that's going to be in the classroom with him.
Right.
We send him, although we're not supposed to, according to the nurse. His teacher is very comfortable with it, and we okayed it with her. He has his EpiPen in his backpack. I have a list of laminated instructions what to do.
I love it.
So there's laminated instructions what to do if there's a hive. If he starts to show symptoms of coughing first, if he does this, then he gets, the topical Benadryl. Then he'll get, and if this, persists, then you give the oral Benadryl. And if this happens, then you do this. And if this happens, then you call 911. And then the instructions for the EpiPen. So it's funny because the nurse, when I took in the instructions for his emergency case, the nurse said to me, she's like, "Oh my God, I love you so much." She's like, "If only every parent would do this," I've never seen something so organized, but in these cases, you have to be. This is your child's life. This is their lifeline. And I mean, even if he's not, what happens if he's not exposed to egg, but there's some other allergy I'm unaware about, they still need to know these signs and these symptoms.
Right. Always better safe than sorry.
Yep. I'd rather be that parent.
I love it. Yeah. Laminated instructions.
Yeah, well,
the best.
Yep, it's laminated. It's on a little ring in his backpack. Yes, it's accessible.
Dude,
yeah,
that's such a great idea.
There are also these bracelets that you can make.
Right.
And there's also bracelets that are already made that says "I'm allergic to," or you can have it customized.
That's really cute.
He used to have one, but he does not like to wear a bracelet for too long, and so he lost it. But we were thinking of making him a necklace, and so for the coming year, having him wear something like that.
Get him some temporary tattoos made.
This is true. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather be safe, and especially because he's going to be around a lot more kids. He's going into kindergarten, so this is something I worry about.
Yeah, because it could just be them sitting at the table together, just playing around, and something touches him, or
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. I'm considering there's also something I don't know if you're aware about. So if someone does have food allergies, they do food testing in an office, like with an allergist, where you can try the different types of food while they're present to see,
If there's a reaction.
yeah. And this way you have like your safety net pretty much there. But he's too young. I feel like he's still too young. And
So, do you think that some of these allergies will go away as he gets older? Is that something the doctor said that could happen?
well, it could happen when you like if you expose, you can become immune. So
Why are you looking at me?
Having a thought.
yeah. So well, when I was younger, I used to be allergic to oranges.
Oh, really?
I was really allergic to oranges,
Oh, wow.
and I did not care. I still ate them. I drank orange juice,
Oh
and
my
I would
gosh.
break
That's like
out.
Jessica with shrimp, right?
Yeah.
Jessica's allergic to shrimp, and she'd be like with her fat lips or whatever, just like eating them all up.
No, totally. I mean, I'm sure you've seen me too when it was like I don't know if it was the shrimp or the garlic because I would always just eat garlic shrimp. Like that was just like my thing. And yeah, my lips would like swell up, or if I touched anywhere on my face, like wherever I touched would swell up. And I was just like, I'll take a Benadryl. Like, like it just
It's worth it.
it's
Yeah.
worth it. It's worth it. And I kept doing it, and now I don't have any reaction to it.
You have
Really?
an immunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me. Because if you don't, I mean, the thing is I feel like you become more allergic.
If you don't keep exposing yourself.
Well, this is what this, I mean, I wouldn't know that then, but what I've realized with my son is like he had a low allergy to almond and he had a low allergy to, I believe it was soy. And now that I haven't been exposing him to those things and been exposing him more to like egg ingredient, like he has lowered the egg, but now soy and almond has gone up.
Oh, wow.
And this is like you can actually measure it because we have all the blood tests that you can, they're right.
It's right there.
Mhm.
The facts are
Yeah,
there.
the facts are there. I mean, the empirical evidence, right? So it's important to have that, But when I was younger, back to I used to have bad eczema flare-ups, really bad, like in between my arms, like in all the major like common spots. And now, I mean, well, for a long time, I've been able to eat oranges and have orange juice. And it's actually, I think someone once told me it was the vitamin C that helps build the immunity, but I think it's just the actual,
Just taking it.
yeah, just the
exposing yourself to it.
the actual allergen that you're exposed to. But
Yeah, but it's hard because it's really like risking it. I'm saying like, just take a Benadryl, but like, who knows? Like, it could have been worse. It could have been like anaphylactic
But
thing,
if you
like
would
you're
have
saying.
ate
Yeah.
more than normal and you would have got like really bad.
that's a good point because you have a threshold. So when you're allergic and you're being exposed, there's a threshold that everyone has. So what I realized with Bodhi is, because he still has the dairy, he's still allergic to cow's milk and cheese and just dairy in general. But I still expose him to these things little by little. And one day he had, I believe it was like 2 Go-Gurts and a stick of cheese. He was given a little bit of milk that I didn't know about. My nieces gave him a little bit of milk with some cereal. And normally he has dry cereal. And so shortly after, he just started throwing up. And it was like throwing up, and I don't know if it's TMI, but it was like just saliva, it was just like an excess amount of like saliva. And I think he was having acid reflux. And so it was just all coming out. And so like that was his threshold, and it should have stopped at the
Go-Gurts and the cheese.
yeah, that should have been it.
Yeah.
But that's as much as he can have before he has a reaction. And the thing is you don't know what the reaction could be. as his allergist told us, his father and I, that you can test it. The next step, since you've been giving him other egg things like, baked goods and things of that nature.
Just stuff that contains eggs, right?
Then I asked him, I said, well, what would the next step be if I chose to do so? What would it be? And he said custard. And I said, okay, what would I be getting myself into? Because I'm so scared of having him go into anaphylactic shock or something, and just I'm terrified. I don't want to administer that EpiPen. Like I
don't want to see your kid like that. Like that's a nightmare.
And not only that, but you don't know if that's gonna work.
It's gonna help, yeah.
You have no idea if that's gonna work. So he's just like, well, that certainly is a possibility. You can't rule that out. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm ruling out custard. I would definitely not. I'll pass on trying it. But he thinks that we should continue
to try to baby step him into it.
And see how he does, and just keep the medicines near and see how he does, because he's clearly doing well. But it's a scary thought. It's
a high risk situation. Where
what do I do? Because he's going to be exposed to more people. He's going to be exposed to more things, and I don't want to leave him in that situation either. I don't want to leave him in that situation where I'm not helping him to become immune. When I could be doing that. And then he gets exposed to something and he's completely caught off guard.
Yeah. So do you have like a hard time with him when he goes to like functions where there's like birthday parties and there's like cakes and stuff like that? Is it kind of hard for you to be like, he sees all the other kids doing it? And
well, he can have cake, but like I always have to monitor make sure that there's no, I have to monitor the topping. Pretty much. As long as it's baked, it's okay, but the topping is the problem usually.
So like if the topping is like whipped cream,
if it's like something whipped, like some type of meringue or, then I have to worry, Same thing goes for the inside. I mean, I don't know if there would be a meringue cake, but I mean, I don't know if that would make sense, but I'm not too sure, and I can't be too careful.
So he wouldn't have cakes. They're baked with eggs and milk and in the, what is it, like the breading of it?
What's funny is he doesn't eat that.
Really?
He won't eat the bread part. He'll want a piece of cake, and he likes cupcakes, but he only likes the icing.
The icing.
Yeah, and it's probably because though he knows, and how we spoke earlier about you not wanting to eat or drink milk when you were little.
Yeah, because you came in, you're like, do you have milk? And I pull out this lactose-free milk, and you're like, who's allergic to milk? And I was like, well, I guess me, because every time, if I have a regular whole milk or 2%, whatever, it always makes my stomach hurt really bad. And I just would I don't like the taste of it either. Even the lactose-free milk, I don't like the way it tastes, but whatever, it doesn't hurt my stomach, so I'll drink it. Yeah, or I'll put it in my cereal or whatever. But yeah, when we were growing up, every time somebody offered me milk, I was like, nah, no thanks, I don't like milk. And so it's kind of like a thing, kids don't know how to say, oh, it makes me feel blah, 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 that they just, I don't like that. And that's what, Bo's not eating the cake.
Probably because he doesn't like it.
Right. So
or the way it makes him feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sometimes I have to battle with, is he being picky or does he just know better than I? And I have to go with the latter.
So he can have macaroni and cheese and stuff like that, and he's okay.
It'll still give him a little reaction. If he has too much of it, it'll start to scratch. And he'll have a little flare up in the common areas, in his arm and between his arm, in the little crease there. Mm-hmm. And then behind his knees, around his neck. But it's very minimal. And as long as we give him the ointment. I forget the name of the ointment every time. As long as we give him the ointment, it takes it away right away.
So the topical helps a lot.
Yeah, for the eczema flare-ups, yes, definitely.
I didn't know eczema was an allergy, an allergic reaction. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought it was just like a skin thing that you just get. I didn't know it was caused by things you're allergic to.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that it doesn't always have to do with allergy. There's probably other reasons, but for him, his allergies will create an eczema flare-up.
So much fun for you, right?
Oh, tons. You know, I get to bite my nails
I
until
can't
I have
imagine.
no more.
Like, I was like going through the most when Luna was having that all over her. Like, it was all over the back of her legs all the time, like in the creases too. So I was just like, it was driving me crazy. So the extremity that you're going through with your son, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Here's another thing. So one of the things that the doctors said to me is the first time the exposure, you have a situation like yours and like ours. I would say that's kind of, it's bad. You know, the next time they're exposed to it, it should be worse. It'll be worse. So that's why it's important to take the necessary precautions.
Do the panel.
Yeah, I was like Googling everything under the sun, and I found this post, and somebody had shared like an extreme allergic reaction to sunblock. And the picture that they had posted of their child's arm looked exactly like Luna's legs, like all over the back of her legs. So I felt like my mom instinct was like totally right from the beginning, that it was the sunblock. Like, I felt like maybe it was just like a bad batch and she had a reaction to it. I just, that's what I felt in my heart. And I'm like, I've bought her a more organic sunblock since. You know, we've gone to the beach and I've used that on her and she didn't have any reactions. So I'm really, really hoping that it was just that specific sunblock, and hopefully it never gets into her bloodstream ever again. But I do still want to do a panel to get to the bottom of it, to see if there's anything else that I should be concerned about.
Well, where were you guys at when you were rubbing the sunblock in?
We were at the pool.
Were you guys near certain plants, flowers?
I wouldn't really say so. Like, not that. There was, I think, like succulents behind where we were sitting.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, pollen's in the air, so
Yeah.
that's the thing, is that pollen is, you know, can be in the air. But what I'm thinking is just maybe something was floating around, and because you're like rubbing sunblock in her skin, that's could have been the combination
of the two.
of the two. I mean, it's the only different things, you know, is, like I said, the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth getting the answers.
Yeah.
You know,
I know
just to
when
make
I was
sure.
a kid, like my dad has a lot of allergies, like to a lot of different things. Like he's allergic to grass, like everything. Like every time the man would like mow the lawn, he would be like sneezing his life out for like the entire night, like just forever. And I think when I was small, I would kind of have a reaction when I would eat kiwis. And I think peanuts as well, but those are like, they've come and gone as well, I guess, because I continued to expose myself. I loved kiwis when I was a kid, so I ate them even though I had a reaction, you know. So
I don't know how true this is, that allergies come in increments, like 20 years. Has
Really?
anybody heard that?
No, I've never heard that.
No.
I
Okay.
don't know. What did you just allergies? What do you mean? Like different? You get new allergies
Like
every
you
20
get
years?
right, that you could possibly
I mean,
get.
it might be true, because don't they say like your taste buds change
Everything
like every
generates all the
7
time.
every seven,
that
7
every
years or
20
something.
years you can
Come
you
up with
know,
something new. And that's
that
true,
you can
because
be
you hear
allergic to
about like
something.
older people, like all of a sudden they're allergic to something new in their life that they've been eating all their life.
Yeah.
So it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
This is like not a food allergy, but I know all of our kids also have like the
Sinus
yeah, like
allergies.
the seasonal allergy thing going on. And for me with Justine, it was just like she had this cough that just like wouldn't go away, and it was like dry sounding, like if she was fake coughing. I could, where she's just like, like just that constantly, and I was like, what
Like
is it?
dry cough.
Yeah, and you know, I asked the doctor or whatever, and it was just like, well, even before when she would have little coughs like that, it was always like, well, she's in school, so she's gonna have a cough, she's gonna have whatever. All the kids have something. It's always going around.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it was just like weeks, and this cough wasn't.
Clearing
up.
up.
Yeah, it wasn't clearing up. And so they're like, okay, we'll try Benadryl and Claritin. Do Benadryl for, 2 nights, and then just keep up with the Claritin and see how that helps. And it, like, made
Changed her life,
yeah,
huh?
and I was really debating, because it's like, you don't want to give your kids medicine. Like, you really
Preventatives.
don't, yeah.
I'm telling you.
And then when I, like, thought about it, I feel like when we were kids, doctors didn't really talk about allergies or anything like that. So we just kind of lived our lives that way. And I was the snottiest kid. Mom, I can't believe you let me live like that.
I know.
I was always like,
Yeah.
24/7, rubbing my
always
nose.
So congested. Like, you were like she was extremely bad.
Yeah, it was all the time.
All
like,
the time.
it was just, and we didn't know, like, how could we know until I was older? And then until I could really express, like, this is what I'm feeling, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, try Flonase and take Claritin. And then it was, like, my life changed.
Life-changing.
Yeah.
So is that what you
It's a game
finally
changer.
did? I never
Yeah.
knew how or why they went away.
Why are you not sniffling all the
Now
time?
you're not a snotty kid anymore.
She's not a little snot face.
I was, though. Like, I was always, and so knowing that I was like that, and then seeing Justine starting to be,
Exactly like you were.
yeah, and I was like, that has to be, like, that's what it is. That's what I had, and I don't really have a choice. I don't want her to be that kid that's
Right.
freaking runny nose
Yeah.
24/7.
Or just all congested. Like, it's
Right.
such a frustrating feeling.
Yeah, like right now being pregnant, I'm like really congested, so I'm just like, it's back, and nothing's helping me.
Can you
but-
take the allergy medicines right now?
Yeah, I can. I could take
Okay.
Claritin and Flonase, but it just, it's a different ball game right now, so
Yeah.
nothing's really helping.
Yeah.
But me and Olivia were talking about maybe trying different teas. My doctor told me to put the humidifier on. So that was a thing too. Before I did the Claritin, I was like, let me do the humidifier. Let me put Vicks on her. Let me try all of these
Eucalyptus
things.
oil.
Yeah, let me try all these other things for Justine before we like commit to
Medicate her.
taking medication every day. But it cleared up, and we're like, okay, let's take her off of it, and it was like instantly back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Instantly back. And I was like, this cough. And me and Ernie kind of got upset the other day because she's out of school now. Just her eyes, like, you could tell right away in their eyes when their like allergies are bothering them. And I like asked my mom, like, hey, did you give her Claritin today? Because my mom was forgetting all the time. And I said, put an alarm on your phone. Like, the only day you're responsible for is Monday. Like, Ernie's here every other day in the morning. Monday is your day. Put an alarm. Give it to her. So first day out of school, Justine's all like groggy and funky, and I'm like, you didn't give her Claritin today? Because I asked Justine, and she's like,
Not today.
yeah, no, not today. Because I asked Justine, and she was like, no, I didn't take it. And then my mom's like, oh yeah, I just, now that she's not in school, I just wanted to see how she would do without it. I'm like, dude, that is something you need to ask me if you could do.
Yeah.
You don't just
Yeah.
take her off of a
We're like
medication
the
because you feel
opposite.
it.
Because when I was still living with my parents, they were noticing that Zoe was like congested and stuff like that while she was sleeping. And so they started giving her allergy medicine without asking me. And I was just like, hold on here.
Yeah.
What are you giving her? And you need to talk to me about it. And so we had went and stayed at a water park, and Jessica and I shared a room, and her and Ernie were like, how long has Zoe been sounding like that while she's sleeping? And I'm like, you know what? She has been doing that for a bit. And they're like, that's exactly how Justine used to sound. And we started giving her Claritin, and she sleeps silently now, So I started giving her Claritin too.
Yeah.
And it stopped. But I also have been like
anti-dairy with my kids. I've stopped giving them cow's milk. They drink almond milk and like hemp milk. And I don't give her allergy medicine anymore. And she doesn't sound like that. So I feel like diet also has a lot to do with it, you know?
But like we were just saying, like I never drank any milk.
Yeah.
And Justine doesn't like milk either. No, I mean, now we have, before I started getting this milk, like Ernie would just buy regular milk because I wasn't drinking anything anyways. Mm-hmm. So, you know, she didn't like that either. So would just assume like it probably doesn't make her feel good either. Yeah. So, yeah, she's not a big
Milk drinker. Does she have a lot of cheese?
She's not a big dairy person. So I think it probably like.
She just has allergies.
Yeah.
It's environment. I mean, you can't forget the
and, like,
environmental allergies because
and-
sometimes they're worse than the food allergies.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys could look around this house, like, it's covered in dust, you know? We have old-ass carpet.
You
Yeah,
can't
I
escape
so-
it, though. Even when you
Yeah.
don't have carpet, like, you know,
Yeah.
you
But
can't
you've
escape
also
it.
had the same carpet for
Yeah.
like ever.
Forever,
so-
yeah. And we're not, like, the cleanest people here. We're kind of, like, let stuff, like, all right, it's been a month. Maybe we should vacuum. Oh, my God. So we kind of let things, you know,
Build up a little.
yeah, so it's, I don't know. It just, like, is what it is. So, yeah, eventually the plan is to get rid of the carpet so that way we could
Yeah.
sweep and...
I'm like constantly moving their beds, sweeping, because I have hardwood floors, you know, so I know it accumulates from
even
like
more
one
so.
day to
Mhm.
the next. It's so frustrating, but then at the same time, I'm like it because I'm like, dude, all of this would just be sitting in our carpet. And we wouldn't even know
Yeah,
it.
you
And a
wouldn't know it.
vacuum's not going to suck it all out. And
Nope.
I'm sure sweeping it up doesn't pick it all up.
No.
But at least I feel like
Sweep it
I have a
around.
better control of it.
Yeah.
You know, I sweep and, you know, mop it up. And
Yeah.
you have to be super consistent with it because, yes, it adds up from like, you don't do it for a week and you're just like, ew, like it's bad.
I can
So.
barely keep up with ours. It's insane.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And my place is small, so I'm just like, you know, when we lived in a bigger house and it was hardwood floors too, it was so frustrating. I was just like, dude, I cannot be cleaning floors all my life. Like I have 2 kids to chase around.
You gotta get a Roomba.
I know. I want one of those.
You know what though? They don't pick up liquid. So if you have liquid on the, well, I don't know if you would have liquid on the floor, but I worry about my dogs.
Oh, okay.
And if there's liquid on the floor, even just
Plus your
them
dog's gonna chase that thing.
Yeah, seriously. I thought about that and I wanted one so bad, but
Yeah,
then
I
I
almost bought one.
my sister-in-law just bought one, and she's just like, it changed my life. Like, I don't have to go. I don't have to sweep under my bed anymore. I don't have to do it's just
I know.
gets done. It's just getting done, and
I'm
I can
like
just live my life.
sweeping like every other day. It drives me crazy because you can, you know, when you walk around barefoot, you can feel it, and
Yep.
it's just like, ugh.
Yep.
It's no, I don't like it.
I have this little vacuum and then I have a hot steamer. Vacuum, steamer, vacuum, steamer. I feel like I just do it way too much. It's
Yep.
like overwhelming
I feel the
sometimes.
same way.
Yeah.
I do. I'm just like, I don't even know how this gets dirty so fast, but it needs to stop.
If I open a window,
Yeah.
Gotta get on top of cleaning my life one day. It's hard because there's just so much like little stuff.
It's like, who
little
wants to spend their days when they finally got home from work cleaning the freaking house?
well, I can tell you this: I'm at home and I don't clean my house. Okay, I see everything and I get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's a cycle for me because I'm allergic to dust, and yet I have to clean the dust.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to like a lot of times I have to put on a mask.
Yeah, I have
And
masks.
but who wants to clean like that? I
hard 'cause
don't.
you
It
can't
gets-
breathe
It's
and-
hot
Yeah,
and
hot.
it's yeah. So yeah, I've been taking Claritin.
Yeah,
Claritin works for me.
It's good,
It's been a game changer.
you're lucky, Vanessa.
I guess.
You got away with.
Yeah.
I just have to sweep every other day to get away with it, I guess.
Yeah.
I know.
But allergies are one thing and asthma is a whole different topic, you know. So be thankful you don't have that.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy because it's like until this stuff happens to you, you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like you're really thankful for these 100% healthy kids, and then something comes up like this, and you're just like, oh my goodness. And I
Right.
know it could be a whole lot worse for some moms, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You've been
Yeah.
through a lot with Bodhi, so
Yeah. Yeah. He was so tiny. He was so small when all this happened too. But again, thankful that it happened the way that it did.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, that's just, part of the journey. I think that they happen the way they're supposed to happen.
yep, for a reason.
What are some like allergic reaction signs?
Hives,
Definitely.
difficulty breathing, difficulty swallowing.
Did he ever have like his lips swell up, his tongue, like any of that? I know that's like a pretty common thing too.
No, thank goodness. Oh my goodness. If he did, I would have been definitely more keen to like breaking out the EpiPen and have him
Calling 911
Yeah,
and,
I would have
like-
probably because those are signs that your throat is closing up.
Yeah.
Those are all signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then stomach cramps, dizziness. You said difficulty breathing. I always hear like, I've heard a couple people say lethargic.
Lethargic.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well,
Never, well,
you never heard that? Because like one of my at my friend's son's first birthday, it was like the most dramatic first birthday of all time because we go to this little restaurant and she had the patio like to herself. And Justina just turned 1, and I guess she was closing these doors like to separate like her party from like the rest of the cafe, and perfect timing. Justine's like hand was like on the other side, and it like pinched like her skin off. All right here it was horrible. It was like blood everywhere, and she just like couldn't stop screaming, and I was just like trying to like nurse her to calm her down so I could like clean her wounds, and it was just, it was awful. I was like, all right. I mean, once I got her to like stop crying a little bit or like kind of fall asleep, then, we left, and I like apologized to her later. Like, I'm so sorry. Like all that. I know. I mean, it was, you didn't see her, and like, she's a baby, like whatever. It just happened. It was an accident. Like, sorry, all that happened at his birthday. She's like, oh my God, that was like, don't even worry about that. She's like, we got the birthday cake, and Jack starts eating it, and he just like had an allergic reaction to it. We had to call 911.
Oh,
and I was just
One scene after the
yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, he just got really lethargic, and he was just like, like his skin was like rashing, and I was just like, ugh. She's like, it was so scary. She's like, so what happened to Justine? Like,
next. It was nothing.
yeah, compared to like what happened after you guys left, and I was just like, man.
Maybe
Scary.
because they're not breathing properly. I said that with a question mark.
I don't
in
know.
that.
Maybe.
I would have. Well, maybe because they're not getting enough oxygen, and
Yeah.
so it's slowing you down. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, weak.
That's yeah. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I know our little ones are getting restless and missing us
Yes.
already.
Yes.
But
Well, thank you for sharing your story about him.
Yes, of course.
Very informative.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
convinced you into it.
You did. You
Twist your
did.
arm a little
You
bit.
did. A little bit.
Glad she got you.
A little bit. But thank you. Thank you for doing so.
And some last things we wanted to add to think about is removing stuffed animals, utilizing allergy masks, get allergy bedding. That's something that I use for Justine. We put the pillowcases on her pillow, and then we also have it over the crib bed. And I mean, it's helpful, I guess, because the dust mites don't get into, you know, the actual mattress and into the actual pillowcase. Olivia also was saying that we should wash with hot water. And another tip that she was saying was to not use bleach, but that is something that is a little bit more for people with asthma. So look out for those things and do your research. Really, I mean, what else can we say? Only you know what you're feeling and what's going to work for you. So try different methods, but these are just some things that we thought you should think about. Anything else? No?
No, not really.
Yeah, the next month we're going to have episodes on, like, little businesses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what will be coming up.
Some entrepreneurships.
Mom
Well,
Mom-
one of them.
Mom entrepreneurs? That stupid word we can never
can't
say. Mom entrepreneurs.
Yes, so we got some goodies coming along for you guys. But in the meantime, if you have any allergy stories to share with us, send us your stories. We can share them. And if not, you guys know where to find us. We are the Moody Mommies. Tell them, Jess.
It's your line.
Stay moody, guys.
Say Moody Mommies.
Moody Mommies.
Moody Mommies podcast.